One of the things that I look forward to finding out when I went to seminary was the right words to say when somebody was in a very difficult, traumatic, hurting situation. I thought I could go there, all these learned people would tell me what I need to say. Unfortunately, I found out that's not the case. That there are no words that make everything okay in all situations. What I have found from my own experience and in the lives of others is simply when you are called to go somewhere and you are thrust into something where you're not sure what to say, especially the loss of life or someone who's been gravely injured or some experience has gone on, simply say, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. And your very presence says, in most cases, far more than your words. So what are some things we should say and what are some things we should not say? These are some things that I have found out. One, I think we need to be reminded to do no harm. To do no harm. That's one of the very first principles of a doctor in the medical community. Do no harm. Act in the best interest of the patient and without causing any undue suffering. We all know that there is a difference between someone who's lived a long life and someone who dies as a child, as an infant. You know, I stand between a dramatic example of this. And you notice here's a gravestone of someone who lived almost 80 years. Look how it's built up. And here's the gravestone of an infant, flat down on the ground. But grief is accompanied both of those. However, we know that the grief of the death of an infant is far different than that of someone who's lived a long and a successful life. One of the things we want to do is to resist saying something like that we have to defend God. You know, where somebody says, oh, I just want to die, I just can't make it anymore. This is a mistake that I've made because, you know, I feel like I've got to defend God. God doesn't need any defense. God is the Alpha and the Omega. God is the ruler. God is the beginning and the end. Many different people have expressed different ways of dealing with grief. Psalm 22, which Jesus said, why, O Lord, do you forsake me? Psalm 10, why do you stand so far off? Elijah was suicidal. Job said he wanted to die. These texts are in there because God knows that that's how people feel. That's how people feel. And they're legitimate and real. We don't have to defend God. Now, what I've found is there's going to come a time when you're going to get a chance to explain how God works in mysterious ways. Another thing we have to be mindful of is don't say, I know how you feel, unless you do. There's a difference between someone dying as an infant and in an older age. Some of the best advice I've gotten is by an older pastor who told me one time that his wife had gone through a long time of mental illness and she took her own life. And he said, I had people that came up to me that said, I know how you feel. And he thought, no, you don't know how I feel. It's so different than what you're talking about. And here's what he said to me. I think this is a real valuable thing to learn. He said, what you can always say is, I can't imagine how difficult that is. I can't imagine how difficult it is. I'm sorry. That way, you're not equating what you've gone through with what he has. You're allowing him to know that you are not where he is, but you're sorry also. I think those are wonderful things. The other thing, sometimes we're called into when perhaps somebody's taken their own life. Remember, there's nothing in the Bible that says people that took their own life go to hell. That's something that developed in the church many, many centuries ago. But we know also that God loves us and nothing can separate us from the love of God. If the person is a Christian, then we believe that they are right there with Christ. At the same time, we don't want to de-emphasize that and just say don't worry about it, okay? Because we don't want to set that up for somebody else to feel like that's legitimate. But what we want to leave you with is God loves you and He's the one who loves you the most, and God will judge rightly. That's the words that we can always, they're biblical and theologically correct and accurate. God loves you, and He will judge rightly. I know God loves you also, and I hope to see you soon.